Topping today's news, the country pays homage to the 4 Marines that died during a Cuban attack in 1980. The Bahamas records its 10th traffic fatality for the year. A Jamaican man facing gun charges accidentally released from prison, and nearly $2 million worth of cocaine seized on a beach in Abaco. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Able Seaman Frederick Stirrup, 10th of May, 1980. Marine Seaman Austin Smith, 10th of May, 1980. Marine Seaman David Tucker, 10th of May, 1980. Marine Seaman Edward Williams, 10th of May, 1980.
Those were the names of the 4 Marines who lost their lives 43 years ago in the line of duty during the sinking of the HMBS Flamingo on May 10, 1980. In commemoration of that important moment in Bahamian history, a special ceremony was held in Rawson Square on Wednesday to honor those fallen soldiers who paid the ultimate sacrifice for their country. Leading the way in this time of reflection was Prime Minister Philip Davis, who paid homage to the brave soldiers.
At the heart of this national tragedy are the mothers and fathers, wives, children, and loved ones of the Marines. The tragedy of the HMBS Flamingo cannot be discussed without not acknowledging their sacrifice. I know that the unimaginable loss of the Marines is fresh today as it was 43 years ago. While some of the parents have passed on and many of the children now have families of their own, the loss of able seaman Frederick Stirrup, Marine Seaman Austin Smith, Marine Seaman David Tucker, and Marine Seaman Edward Williams remains painful and immediate. We may even wonder, what would they be doing with their lives today had that horrible incident not occurred? This question has no answer, but as the head of this country, I can assure you that we are deeply appreciative of the love and support you gave these men and the memories of them that you keep alive.
After the boats were confiscated, 2 Cuban MiG jet fighters began bombing the Flamingo, which ultimately killed 4 of the men just 6 weeks after the Royal Bahamas Defense Force's establishment. During this solemn occasion, the survivors and families of the victims received medals for bravery as well as the Order of the Lignum Vitae. Bringing words of comfort and encouragement was Royal Bahamas Defense Force Chaplain Apostle Raymond Wells.
The theme for this year's commemorative service, An Anchored Legacy, is one that appears to relieve any fear or concern that the contribution of those that serve aboard HMBS Flamingo could or would ever be forgotten. It ensures that the sacrifice given by those aboard will forever be one that keeps us as an organization grounded. This theme seems to offer us a sobering assurance that the memory of these men will be firmly etched into the annals of our minds and in the history of this force for eternity.
As we embark on 50 years of independence, the legacy of those who played an intricate part in our country's history will not be forgotten. To that end, the photos of the 4 brave men are posted in Rawson Square for all to pay respects. An adult female on Grand Bahama succumbed to injuries sustained in a traffic accident on the island early this morning. According to police, the female, who was the lone occupant of a blue Nissan Cube, was traveling in the northbound lane on Seahorse Road in the area of Seahorse Plaza when she collided into a tree at the center median. Because of the extensive damages to the vehicle, the jaws of life were used to extract the victim. Emergency medical services personnel attended the scene and transported the victim to the hospital, where she was seen and examined by doctors who later pronounced her dead. This traffic fatality follows another fatality on Exuma only 3 days ago when a 21-year-old male motorcyclist lost his life in an accident there near Georgetown. This is the 10th traffic fatality for the country so far, 2023. Investigations continue into this matter. Meanwhile, police are advising the motoring public to drive with due care and attention and to obey the traffic regulations. While it was highly anticipated that Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson would rule on a constitutional motion filed by the attorney for Long Island Member of Parliament Adrian Gibson in relation to the highly publicized ongoing matter of corruption charges, the matter has been adjourned until Monday, May 15th at 9:30 a.m. During the court proceedings today, Justice Grant Thompson noted to the parties that she was not ready to hand down a ruling and intended to adjourn court proceedings until 3 p.m. today. However, that time was not feasible for Mr. Gibson's attorney, Mario Ducille, who wants to be present for the ruling. Mr. Ducille argues that Mr. Gibson's constitutional rights were breached after his ex-fiancée, Alexandria Mackey, who is testifying against Mr. Gibson, does not want to give testimony in person and filed for 2 applications to give testimony via video link from the United States, claiming to be in fear of her life. Mr. Ducille objects to this, arguing that the application is not properly presented in court and Ms. Mackey did not give proper reason for the application. However, Ms. Mackey claims that she is fearful after the Long Island MP allegedly brutally attacked her on December 22nd, in fact, of 2021, and her immigration status, she says, is still in question as she resides now in Orlando, Florida. However, Mr. Ducille says Ms. Mackey is capable of traveling for the trial due to her recent travels in April of this year to the country, and she also made no mention of any harassment or abuse from the accused to the authorities. And finally, in this segment, May has been declared Disaster Preparedness Month with just 3 weeks left before the beginning of the annual hurricane season, which begins on June 1st. The Disaster Preparedness Unit, in collaboration with regional and local partners, attended the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing today to give an update on hurricane preparation being made in the country. Acting Senior Deputy Director of Meteorology, Jeffrey Simmons, gives the current predictions for what we can expect this season.
And as we all know also, Bahamas is famously getting the name now of Hurricane Alley. So one set of predictions out for the year already. We are predicting just a slightly below normal season. On average, our season would see about 14 named storms, and 7 of them become hurricane and 3 of them major hurricanes, which is category 3 and above of wind speed of 111 miles per hour or greater. This year, for 2023, the prediction is now out for 13 named storms and 6 of them to become hurricanes and 2 of them to become major hurricanes of category 3 and above.
The Department of Meteorology has begun to visit all weather stations across the country to complete maintenance repairs and radar calibrations. President of the Bahamas Psychological Association, Dr. Wendy Fernandez, says we must be prepared mentally as well.
When we talk about preparation, we talk about having the houses boarded up, having sufficient supplies, but no one thinks about the mental health implication or preparation for mental health. And so what I want to say is, I think it's important that I mention that with every physical disaster, there will be psychological disaster, and it will be multiplied. So what I would want you to take away from this is, as you prepare yourself mentally as well. Put together a mental health kit. How do I respond to disaster? I thank you so very much for your time.
As for the number of shelters in the country this year, Chief Welfare Officer in the Department of Social Services, Mrs. Andrea Newbold, says there are currently 141 shelters, but the department is looking for more.
The Department of Social Services Mosque and Shelter is responsible for ensuring that the Bahamas, all the islands of the Bahamas, has hurricane shelters. Thus far, we have 141 shelters, and that includes all of the Bahama Islands. And as I speak, shelter inspections are ongoing, and so we encourage persons in New Providence and even in the Family Islands, if you have a strong structure which can stand up to Category 3 and above, let us know so we can inspect those structures, and so we can have more shelters.
The ideal number of shelters the department wants for each island is 20. Ms. Simmons says all property owners and homeowners should already be prepared and stocked with the necessary materials and non-perishables. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.